rings are going on and stuff. So I know it's not just for income. A lot of different women are just doing it for their own kind of like mission they're trying to get across and stuff. And I know one in particular that I shot was actually trying to save somebody from that I saw that she sent me. It was she was actually she's a vegan. She's a vegan activist, and she was trying to save a duck one time, and like the duck was like really badly injured, and she was like literally like bawling, crying, and the like. The worker that was trying to get the duck back into the factory was like, "Yo, like it's like he was like, I'm sorry, I know how you feel, but it's my job. Like I can't, you know, I can't do anything about it. Like if I do it, like the cops are gonna come, they're gonna arrest you, and I don't want that to happen. Like, you know, I apologize. Like I'm sorry. It's just like I'm following orders, and." You know, that's kind of like the same thing that like with the whole cop situation and stuff. Like a lot of these, unfortunately, some of these people are just following orders and stuff. Yeah, which sucks. Yep. You know, and it just like I was like kind of shook up about it. I was like, oh man, like it was just like kind of like heartbreaking to hear her side of the story and stuff, which is still kind of impacts me with about animals and stuff, and that's why I'm very particular with what I eat and everything. Not lately. I haven't been following a really strict diet, but
it's hard to right now.
Yeah, it's like, you know, bring whatever you can right now, bro. But yeah, it's, you know, like it's a different dynamic with everybody. But I know for the most part it is about self-esteem issues, especially because I met this woman that was divorced last weekend, and she was like telling me, she's like, because I overheard, because I work at a bar. A lot of people don't. We haven't discussed that in a minute, but I work at a bar, and I was stacking up the bathroom tissues, and she was like, "Hey, I overheard her friend talking to another guy and saying like, oh, my friend likes you, like blah blah blah," and it felt like it was like little kids kind of stuff, like oh shit, like yeah, okay, but it was just funny because I was just like, did I just really see that, like, and I walked by the girl, and she's like, what did you hear? What did you hear? I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, what? And I was like, I straight up told her, I was like, hey, just so you know. She's like, yeah, I've been divorced. I was married for 15 years. And I was like, well, like, take your time. Like, this is your time to reinvent yourself, to create something beautiful. Find your hobby, find your passion. You know, like, it's not, you don't have to be chasing the opposite sex. It's like, it's not just for women, it's for men in general. Like, you don't have to be, you don't have to chase something, you know, if for you to be secure about who you are and stuff, yourself, your individual, your inner self should already notify that, like tell you who you are, you know. You don't need to be that individual. You don't need to be that scumbag. You don't need to be that person, you know, to go get, you know, to get women or to get men, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It even going through this, like prior to this, even being in relationship stuff, like I think starting this helped me realize, like, one, I want to say this in preference of like, haha, this is a joke, please don't take this so seriously, but like, one, this made me realize like men ain't shit, like, like, and like I say that in all fairness of like, I know some really dope men that are very respectable, very dope dudes. Unfortunately, I've not had that best of dating track records of said best men. So for me, my dating life has been pretty hard, just from different guys that I've had relationships with. And for me, I know the longest time I put a lot of my worth in the dating area, and I put a lot of my worth of like, well, you know, as long as I have somebody at the end of the day that I come home to, everything will be fine. Or like, as long as I have that person, I'll be okay. And like, you know, especially coming from the family that I came from, like leaving home at 17 and kind of being on my own since then, it's been a very long journey of being like, oh, I don't actually need a significant other to feel my best self. And I think one of the biggest things is coming from a very toxic household that teaches you to rely on other people, and that teaches you that you have to make sure that everybody else around you is okay, and if everybody else around you is okay, then you'll be okay, and if someone isn't okay, what can you do to make that work? And unfortunately, like, that fell into my dating life, and so a lot of the dudes that I dated ended up being just very manipulative and very like, they just took advantage of that, basically. And it sucked out. It was really hard to go through all those relationships, but it definitely made me like a stronger person. And that also falls into like, I know, which I hate like bringing this up because it falls into the like stupid stigma of like, oh, girls who go into sex work or girls who do like OnlyFans and take photos and do videos like this, they've been like, they've been raped or they've been sexually assaulted and like they just want attention now, or like they have daddy issues. And it's like each girl is different, and like you can't base that on it. But I know for me, I was raped like 2 times, and I was sexually assaulted by a family member, and that for me was another piece that I felt like my femininity was taken away. And for me, that was very hard to go through. And it was, I mean, the first time that I got raped, I was like blacked out drunk, and so for me it was hard to recognize that it, one, wasn't my fault, and then 2, to kind of move on from not basing my future relationships on what had happened. And the second time I was conscious the entire time, so that was a little bit more traumatic for me, and I definitely had to go through like a lot of like self-healing for that, and a lot of, I don't know, I still haven't gotten to like the relationship healing part because that in and of itself is a whole lot of work. But going through all of that, and at least for me, like the experience that I've had with you for being a photographer has been very healing, because I know if I'm in a room alone with a guy, I immediately just start getting panicky. Like, you can't see it on the outside. Like, I don't think a lot of women will show it on the outside. I think they are doing a really good job of keeping it on the inside, because they don't want to be the woman that's like, oh, you're being too much right now, you're being over dramatic, and like all this shit. So we have to just keep a lot of it inside. But I usually get like really panicky about those situations. And I mean, even being able to like do photographs the way that we have been doing and stuff like that has been very healing, in the sense of like being able to trust again, and knowing that like something bad isn't going to happen, or knowing that like there are good people out there that aren't going to just take advantage of that and aren't going to like, I don't know, like just like make fun of the situation or just stuff like that. Like, it's all in itself has just been like very healing, just especially in the sense of like what you said at the very beginning, is not basing your worth off of chasing something, but basing your worth off like who you are as a person and what you have on the inside versus like what you can get from something, if that makes sense. And
it's funny because I was waiting to do this podcast to tell you about that. Like, I've noticed that you were when we get to a certain stage of when we photograph, you do get like, I do see the panic, and I do see the anxiety attacks happening, and that's when like I'll like, you know, I'll be like, all right, let's do up to this point, and then I was like, all right, you know what, let's just stop, let's just go, let's just do it for another day or something. But you know, your words, thank you. If I can help, thank you. But yeah, like, it's I've noticed that, and you know that I'm not like, I when I first started doing this, I know a lot of guys and a lot of girls have told me like, ooh, you're doing a lot of photos for OnlyFans, like you're shooting models for OnlyFans. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, like, you know, like, do you get to fuck these girls? I'm like, dude, like, I've been desensitized about nudity for a while now, and for people in general, not even just guys. It's a lot of women. Women are like, I still can't believe you're doing OnlyFans photos. I'm like, it's a job, dude. Like, And if I could help somebody better themselves in some way, shape, or form, I will do it. You know, like because like you know, I'm not. Men are not immune from being, you know, molested, because I was too. So, you know, for a lot of different people, like you know, it's like, oh, you're a guy, you're a guy, you must have wanted it, you must have gone hard, and it's like, no, it's like it's not like it doesn't roll that way, you know. Like a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people are like, oh. You weren't molested. You just like you had a boner. Of course you would have. Of course you're not molested because you also want your body. It's like, no, it's a body reaction. There's a difference from having a I want to say an intimate relationship, sexual relationship with somebody, and there's a difference between like your body just reacting to what's going on in the situation, you know. It's like me saying like, oh, we were having sex and I was taking advantage of you, but you were still wet, so that means you were liking it.
But that's just a body reaction. Like,
it's like, well, my body's reacting to that. It's not the fact that it's like it wants to, you know. Like it's just like it's there it is. And that's a difference between like I know a lot of men in Hollywood have come out and said like, you know, I was molested by producers or whatever and stuff like that, and it sucks. It sucks for people, and especially because you know, a lot of people have been garbage and stuff. A lot of people are garbage, and they take, and some people react a different way. They get molested, so they molest somebody else, and that person like thinks like, oh, like I'm gonna go do this to this person because I was taught that it's okay for me, like to take advantage of this, you know. So yeah, and you know, I'm glad that I could help you. That's all. That's all I wanted to say. I know it's for a lot of people, it's just like, oh, like but it's therapeutical for some people, you know.
Oh, it definitely is. And going back on the whole, like, it happens to men too. That's already been conversations that I've had with some people in my life as well that have brought up, like, well, like on both ends too. They're saying like, oh, well, if like, why can't? What was it? Someone just brought up a comment and said something about OnlyFans. And I was like, oh, okay, so like you're just equating women to money now, like you're not seeing them as a person. And they're like, well, women can do this and get money for it, like why can't men do it? And I'm like, dude, men are doing it though. And like, unfortunately, it's so weird when you get into like sex work, when I guess it just depends on like the viewpoint of the person too, but when women do it, even though it's not as acceptable, it's more acceptable than when men do it. Yeah. Because when men do it, they're seen as, I think, more feminine by doing that because they're being more vulnerable in it, or like, I guess depending on like your audience as well. And so it's just also like weird to see that, not weird, but it's difficult to see that even though sex work is already not looked at as being okay, that in this field that men are still having more difficulties in it. And that I think that also comes from the stigmatism of men can't get raped or men can't get molested because they're taught like, oh, well, you're a man and like you enjoy it no matter what happens. And like that in itself is just stupid. Like that's just dumb. Like, and I think that just also comes from how so many of us are just raised in this like very, like, I don't want to say manly because it's not manly. It's not that it's like, oh, men run everything, but it's just there's like the masculine and feminine energies, and it's like, unfortunately, there's a lot of more masculine than there is feminine, and because of that, like, men are allowed to be more open about things, and men aren't supposed to like talk about these things, and it just sucks to see the diversity just in like sex work and how that is on both sides. Yeah. I think that in itself is just crazy. And
then certain feminists are becoming like their male counterparts, where like they're becoming the same thing that they're oppressing. They were against. They're becoming the same thing, and that's it's the same thing that's been that I've been telling a lot of people about the left, like about people being like super liberal and stuff like that. It's okay to be conservative about other stuff. It's okay to be liberal about certain stuff.